Hi everybody, I'm Greg Fishel. Welcome to bonus weather video number 1 for this week, cutting this a little bit early. And we're going to be talking about the upcoming autumnal equinox, which actually occurs on September 22nd, which would be 2 weeks from yesterday. So it's coming up. And a couple of interesting little tidbits about it that I thought you might find interesting. So let's go on ahead and get going here. And as we do, first thing we're going to talk about is the difference between what we call the ecliptic plane versus the celestial plane, okay? Now, the ecliptic plane is the plane in which the Earth orbits the sun, okay? So it's that plane that it moves around, okay? But the celestial plane is the plane that the Earth rotates, okay, through, if you will. And it's tilted, as you all know, at an angle of about 23.5 degrees. So here is the ecliptic, that's the path that the Earth takes around the sun, and then the Earth rotates at a 23.5 degree angle to that, okay? So the celestial North Pole is actually here, and the ecliptic North Pole is up here, okay? So that's the difference between those two. Now, the path around the sun, oh, I'm sorry, and there's that 23.5 degree angle. So here's the sun, and here's the path that the Earth takes around the sun. And yes, it is an elliptical orbit, and yes, we are closer to the sun in the wintertime than we are in the summertime. It is the angle at which the radiation hits us that makes it hot in the summer and cold in the winter. So as the Earth moves around the sun, you can see that the northern hemisphere is tilted away from the sun here. It's tilted toward the sun here, and it's not tilted either way at this position and this position. And so this is the spring and the fall when the sun is directly overhead at the equator. This is the winter solstice when the northern hemisphere is tilted away from the sun, and this is the summer solstice when it is tilted toward the sun. Okay, let's move on a little bit more here. So here is the Earth again. And here is the equator. And on the day of the equinox, and this is also true for the vernal equinox, the first day of spring, the sun rises directly in the east and sets directly in the west. Now, the word equinox implies that you have equal day and night. So let's take a look at the actual sunrise and sunset times on September 22nd. The sun rises at 7:03, sun sets at 7:11. So we have 12 minutes and 8 seconds of daylight, which means we have 12, did I say that right? 12 hours and 8 minutes of daylight, which means we have 11 hours and 52 minutes of darkness. So they're not equal. Why is that? Well, if we didn't have an atmosphere, they would be equal, but we do, and so they're not. And so what happens here, and we'll tilt the Earth on its side so we can sort of look at this from the side. The sun still rises directly in the east and sets directly in the west. However, when the sun is physically below the horizon, both coming up and after it goes down, the sun's rays are bent by the Earth's atmosphere. So we see the sun before it is physically in a position that we could see it without an atmosphere. And we see it after it is in a physical position that we could see it without an atmosphere. So as a result, we actually get about 4 days of bonus light, okay? And so the what I call the atmosphere-induced autumnal equinox actually occurs 4 days later on September 26th, when the sunrise and the sunset are the same except for the AM and the PM, and daylight and nighttime are equal. And so again, the atmosphere helps us out and gives us a little bit of bonus light, of actually about 8 minutes of bonus light on the day of the equinox. And then finally by September 26th, then we actually have our equinox, but it is induced by the atmosphere. Okay, so I thought you might find that interesting. That is bonus weather video number 1 for this week. The next one will be coming up on Wednesday, and of course the daily weather update will be coming up later on this afternoon. And we do have tropical cyclone activity in the Atlantic basin, okay? So we'll talk about that. Finally, we have something. All right, folks, you have a good rest of your afternoon, I guess. I don't get to say that very often. And we'll talk to you again later this afternoon. Take care, everybody.